It's another Atomic Lizards double feature. This time, Godzilla faces off against a giant lobster, or is it a shrimp? And Godzilla has a son? Right here on the Atomic Lizards podcast.
Welcome to Atomic Lizards. We're a trio of friends podcasting about the Godzilla franchise and other films we love. I am Myranda, the film fanatic.
I'm Huri, the defective film expert.
And I'm Dan, the kaiju extraordinaire.
And today we're talking about Ebirah, the horror of the deep, and the son of Godzilla. Before we get into everything about these movies, we have a special guest joining us today. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your connection to Godzilla?
Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Brendan. I don't have a snazzy tagline, but I am here and I am present. My connection to Godzilla is I was kind of born into a Godzilla family. I'm the youngest of three, and my brothers loved pretty much anything from Japan. They loved Pokemon and they loved Godzilla. So I kind of inherited this, all their movies and all their Godzilla toys. We had a lot of those. So I've seen every Godzilla film to date, and I used to sit around with my entire family watching them.
Well, you're going to fit in just fine to this podcast.
We kind of are evened out now. So you and Dan have seen them all, and me and Udi are watching them for the first time now. So it'll be interesting to see what we have to say about these two movies. So thank you for joining us. So let's dive into these movies.
In Ebirah, Horror of the Deep, a young man is determined to find his missing brother, so he ends up stealing a yacht with 3 other people. When Ebirah causes them to crash on Lecce Island, they find the Red Bamboo, a terrorist organization who have been enslaving the people of Mothra's home, Infant Island. Throughout the film, Ebirah guards the bay and a sleeping Godzilla is waiting to fight.
This is the 7th movie in the Showa era and was directed by Jun Fukuda. The film stars Akira Takarada, Kumi Mizuno, Akihiko Hirata, and Issei Anmamoto. The special effects are by Sadamasa Arikawa under the supervision of Eiji Tsuburaya. In the film, Godzilla and Ebirah are portrayed by Haru Nakajima and Hiroshi Sakita, respectively. During its development, Ebirah, Horror of the Deep, or otherwise known as Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster over here in the States, was intended to feature King Kong originally, but the character was replaced by Godzilla.
In Son of Godzilla, on an island, a group of scientists are trying to create a weather controlling system when a reporter suddenly appears on the island. The reporter discovers a woman who has been living on the island. Meanwhile, giant praying mantises and giant spiders attack Godzilla and his son named Manila.
Jun Fukuda is back to direct this with special effects by Sadamasa Arakawa, again under the supervision of Eiji Tsuburaya. It is the 8th film in the Showa era and stars Tadao Takashima, Akira Kubo, Akihiko Hirata, and Beverly Maeda, with Hiroshi Sakita and Saiji Onaka, and Haru Nakajima as Godzilla, and Masao Fukuzawa, known professionally as Little Man Machin, played Manila. All right. So, what did we all think of Ebirah Horror of the Deep and Son of Godzilla? You want to go first, Miranda?
Yeah, I could go first. I liked one and I disliked the other. So, Ebra, Horror of the Deep. I really liked this one actually. I thought it was fun. They play beach volleyball. I think my review on Letterboxd said, this is teen beach movie minus the teen romance, more explosions than Godzilla. It's definitely a shift from previous Godzilla movies. They really like with the new director and team working on this, definitely changed gears. I liked Ebra creature design is pretty cool. Um, is he a shrimp? Is he a lobster? I don't know, but his name does come from Ibi, which is the Japanese word for shrimp. So even though he looks like a lobster, he's probably a shrimp. If you didn't know that, now you do. Um, the fight scenes were really cool. They like actually like fought underwater and they had like a window in a pool in order to film it. So that was really cool. Apparently the suits are not made for water at all, so they got really heavy and really like bloated throughout the production, which can kind of be seen in some of the shots of Godzilla. And for like an island movie, there's quite a bit of construction, not construction, destruction, destroying things.
Yeah, you're right. Because I mean, the red bamboo did have like a lot of like somewhat bases built. So
Yeah. So it was nice to see like Godzilla destroy some stuff. So I liked that one. And then Son of Godzilla I did not like. It's bad. Like the best thing out about the whole movie is the giant spider and the praying mantises. Like I don't care about Manila, Mini Godzilla, because that's what his name is, Minilla. So Mini plus Illa, Manila. Um, no, I don't like it. It was boring, and I didn't care about the human characters, and I didn't care about Manila, and they're just kind of mean to him. And Godzilla looks weird, and like, yeah,
yeah.
I could go on, but those are my general like thoughts on both of them. So who wants to go next?
I'm just gonna take a guess. Udi, was this another IT rating from you?
Um, they were a little less than 8, but they were still okay. I don't know if they earned the 8 seal of approval, but they're
Oh,
okay.
dang. Not even good enough for the patented Udi IT. That's telling.
They were pretty funny in moments. I will say my favorite, because I watched both of them with people this time, which made it better, more entertaining at least. But Dan and I watched Son of Godzilla together, and my favorite bit was just being really mean to Manila because he looks like a potato that sprouted legs and a tail. Um, and also, are we gonna cancel Godzilla now because he's an abusive parent? So I don't know about I
Yeah.
don't know about that, but
He did threaten to hit Manila. Not good.
he did threaten. He was like threatening the backhand. That come on, Godzilla.
Godzilla was probably just thinking to himself, "I turned out fine."
Yeah.
But Godzilla, get with the times, please.
He's
Um,
a boomer. He has old school mentalities.
is he literally a boomer because of his atomic breath? Like,
I mean, he was born in 1954, so
I guess yeah, literally. I mean, yeah, he is a boomer.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, Ebirah had some fun moments as well. Um, I liked, even though I didn't necessarily care for like the kind of weird beach movie sort of vibe. I don't like I don't know. It just felt a little weird with the movie, but I did enjoy like the surfer rock music because I like surf rock. And then or surfer rock, I mean. And then I also really liked that one underwater fight scene. 'Cause I'm like, oh, that's nothing I don't think we've seen that before, so I thought that was pretty cool. And outside of like a few technical aspects, yeah, they were okay. They were not bad. But well, I guess Son of Godzilla is pretty bad, but in kind of like a fun way. Like you can have fun with it. You can laugh at it a lot. Like him doing. Is there like a name for when when you smoke and you blow out like the rings,
I
or is
mean,
it are
just
they just
smoke
blowing
rings. Yeah.
rings,
Yeah, just smoke rings.
smoking rings? Anyway, but Manila kept doing that, and I thought that was kind of funny. He'd be like trying to atomic breath, and he would just do like a little ring, and then he would just get attacked and get bonked in the face with a giant boulder. Very entertaining.
That's how I learned as a kid.
Getting bonked in the face with a boulder.
Yep.
Yeah. That's it's the easiest way to learn.
I learned what not to do.
But yeah. I'm kind of rambling at this point, so I'm gonna wrap it up. But yeah, they were okay.
All right. Well, Brendan, why don't we pass it off to you, man? What did you think of these two movies?
All right, so I've seen Son of Godzilla more times than I can count. It used to be one of my favorite movies of all time, and I used to watch it once a week when I was little. I
Wow.
yeah, I recently rewatched it prior to this. I watched it last year, I think, and then I realized that I'm like, oh, this movie is not as good as I thought it was. It's been a while since I saw Abra the Horror of the Deep. I, I think I only watched it once as a kid. I've watched Godzilla's Revenge more than I've watched this one. So if that says anything, I never liked this one to begin with, and rewatching it, I still don't like it. The don't get me wrong, there are some funny parts. That bird fight scene is riveting,
Oh God,
and
not the
it's
condor fight.
horrible. And the bird just kind of flopping. You can like I think you can see the puppeteer's hand. I don't know. I might be confusing that with another fight scene, but the thing is just flopping all over the place, and then Godzilla just like blows him up, and then I don't know why that was in the movie. I'm glad it was, but
I know
it's
why. Would you like to know why it's in there?
sure.
So Ebra Horror of the Deep was originally supposed to be a King Kong movie, and there's a King Kong cartoon where he fights a giant bird. And instead of changing the plot when they decided it's a Godzilla movie, they just kept it in. They're just like, might as well leave it, I guess.
How would so you're telling me instead of blowing it up with atomic breath, King Kong would have just like speared it or grabbed? I don't know what would have happened. I'm
He
actually
would have King
Something
curious.
like
Konged him.
that.
He would have Konged all over it.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, very beach movie, very different than the sort of Godzilla movies that I really like. Um. Godzilla just kind of like laying there in a heap most of the movie. It was just funny to me. Just him just pass out on the floor after like a 30-year bender.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not the worst Godzilla movie. I can still have fun with it, and if I watch it with the right group of people. But watching it alone, I don't really like to do. As for Son of Godzilla, as I've gotten older, that one too, I'd rather watch with a group where you can kind of play off of people. Yeah, Godzilla's a horrible parent. Uh, and that red bubbling water side plot is weird because it should be radioactive and killing everybody instead of curing their fever. But I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so I can't really say anything. But I do like that one for how the spider at the end. I'm just really curious to what they used for snow because I just was watching a documentary on how they used to do some of those effects, and Wizard of Oz they used asbestos for the snow in a lot of those
Oh
like any of
God.
those scenes, which
Oh,
is
come
very
on.
harmful. I don't really need to say anything about that. I really hope they didn't do that, but
Yeah, I hope not either.
yeah, no. I enjoy Son of Godzilla more, but I have to admit I like the mantis. How like when you know their puppets and their legs aren't all connected, and when they kind of jump, they go like really floppy. That always made me laugh as a kid. So Manila scared me as a kid though. So I don't know. He is kind of scary. He reminds me of the Ginger Dead Man, played by Gary Busey.
Now that's interesting.
He
He
kind of
does
does.
also. He also kind of looks like Dan showed me this picture. He was the one who pointed it out to me. It kind of looks like a rotting Ninja Turtles costume.
He looks like their methed up cousin, like like Larry the Lizard.
They could have done
Uh,
better on the design.
Oh, they could have. They really could have.
They chose not to, though.
Nope.
It just blows my mind that they're like, what would Godzilla look like small, like as a baby? And that's what they're like. Yeah, you know what? This looks right.
this is good.
Yeah. Although I guess Godzilla, the suit for Godzilla in Son of Godzilla also looks like rotting produce, so it doesn't really. I don't know.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
so they edited Godzilla's design for this movie so he looked more like Manila. So that's why Godzilla looks really weird in Son of Godzilla cuz they were like we got to change the design. It's also the biggest suit that's been created so far. because of that size difference that they wanted. So that also is why it's kind of weird.
Makes sense, but yeah, changing the suit design to look more like Manila was probably the worst decision they could have made for this movie.
He looks like the Cookie Monster.
Yeah, it's just.
He
I mean,
does.
I was gonna save this for like when I was giving my thoughts, but I'll just say it now since we're already talking about it. This is my least favorite suit in the entire Godzilla franchise. I do not like this suit at all.
Yeah, I feel that. It is not good.
It was like a suit that they like used for water scenes and were just like, we gotta use something. I didn't even realize they made a whole new suit.
Yeah, that's a bad thing. You can't really. I wouldn't have really thought of that unless I watched them back to back, or every movie in the show are back to back to back. And I don't know why they put in the effort because they were so confident. It seems in the Manila, like this design is great. Let's change Godzilla's design to like go with it. Doesn't make too much sense to me.
Yeah, I just don't know how like you could be like the director or on that team and like look at the Manila suit where he first hatches out of the egg because I think Manila looks his worst when he first hatches out of the egg because it's like, good God, what is this? Like it was hilarious because like Udi mentioned, we were watching it together and like seeing Udi's reaction to like Manila when he first hatched was honestly pretty funny because Udi was like, oh no, what is this?
he he looks like a hairless Oscar the Grouch. It's weird.
He kind of does. But so were you finished with your thoughts then, Brendan?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry if that took a little while.
Oh no, no,
No, we
you're
got off
good.
track.
We no, we I think that was a good discussion. So, but all right, well, I guess I will talk about what I thought of these two movies. So I kind of am more in line with Brendan, where I don't really like Ebirah Horror of the Deep, and I kind of like Son of Godzilla because like I don't know, like Ebirah Horror of the Deep, I just feel can be kind of, you know, like a little boring at times, and like it's not that long of a movie, so like things are, you know, they keep moving and whatnot, and there are some like very comedic moments and fun to be had in the movie. Like I like the beginning when they're all doing the dance contest. I think that's fun. And then I also kind of like how the main character, you know, he's looking for his brother, so they bring him to this yacht that is technically like already stolen, but we don't know that it's stolen yet because the thief or whatever is acting like it's his yacht. So then they all wake up the next day and just find out that the guy just took it and is like, "All right, we're going on an adventure." It's like he kind of like in a way kidnapped the other three characters or other two, or
Not
is it three?
kind of. He did. He
Yeah.
literally kidnapped them.
Yeah, like he just kidnapped them all. It's like, you know, you guys are coming with me, I guess. So- but yeah, you know, the fight between Ebra and Godzilla is it isn't bad. I do like when they're playing like I think was it you Miranda that said they play beach volleyball, or was that you,
Yeah, they
Brendan?
play beach volleyball. It's
Oh,
like fun
okay,
in
yeah.
summary.
Yeah, so they play beach volleyball by throwing a rock back and forth. So that's kind of funny. Although freaking Godzilla like literally rips Ebra's like I guess claw off at the end. So that's kind of like geez, you know, they were just playing volleyball earlier and now Ebra's out of an arm. But yeah, Ebra's interesting because we were talking earlier like what is it? Is it a shrimp? Is it a lobster? I'm gonna go lobster because in both the dub and the sub, they call it a lobster. So, lobster. But yeah, and then like the whole Red Bamboo organization, like they're not really anything special. They're just what were they even doing again? I don't remember.
Mining bamboo.
Finding wait, seriously?
No, no.
Okay, I was gonna say. I don't even remember what they were doing and why they needed the slaves from Infant Island. Although I did think that, calling back to Infant Island and Mothra and all that, that was kind of cool. I thought it was also hilarious how when Mothra comes to pick everyone up to save them, like Godzilla sees Mothra and he goes to atomic breath her. He's such a dick. It's hilarious. But
She just has this giant basket too.
yeah, that's And then I also thought it was weird how at the end all the characters are like, "Hey, Godzilla, you got to leave the island or whatever. Like, it's gonna explode." It's like, why are you all feeling bad for Godzilla? He literally just tried to attack your only way back home. But to each their own. But yeah, Ebirah, Horror of the Deep, not great, but also like I think like Brendan said, far from being the worst Godzilla movie. The worst is yet to come, unfortunately. So.
Oh
There's
no.
worse ones?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, the worst is yet to come, so get ready for that.
Yeah, just
But
grab a beer or 18 and then just watch that one. Just let it go.
but yeah, on to Son of Godzilla. Now, Son of Godzilla, I'm not gonna say it's a good movie because it's so clearly not. Son of Godzilla is terrible. But I enjoy it for just how terrible it is. I mean, we've already talked about how awful of a design Minya is, and like the the scene where Minya first hatches and you got Kamacuras, all the Kamacuras just literally beating the crap out of him. It's like, come on, that stuff's kind of funny.
That is really funny.
Yeah, so like that, and then it's weird because like they have a scene where like Minya throws a temper tantrum and like they give him like donkey noises for some reason. It's like this is kind of distracting. Why does he sound like a donkey? But yeah, there's really not much to be said though about Son of Godzilla because like most of my enjoyment from that movie comes from how bad it is. But although the fight scenes were very entertaining because like when me and Udi were watching it, like Godzilla literally like takes Kamacuras and pulls off like a wrestling move on him. It was great. It was fun watching those scenes. Um
If Godzilla had done a body slam, I would have given the movie 5 stars.
yeah.
Just
If it turned into
suplex.
yeah, if they had gone full like wrestling, I would have been like, you know what, I respect it. Five
Yeah.
stars.
Oh, that would have been great, but for what they had though, it was still pretty great. And then but yeah, I mean, Brendan had mentioned earlier that the Kamacuras is kind of fun to look at because you can clearly tell that it's a puppet. Like, I'm pretty sure there's one shot where its feet aren't even touching the ground, and it's supposed to be walking.
Just one?
Yeah. And then there's also the various shots where like it goes to attack, and it is like the slowest attack I've ever seen in my life. Like it's just gently bringing its pincher down to like attack the characters.
Well, that's true for real life mantis because they're known for being extremely slow. That's how they catch their prey.
Oh
That
well,
is a false statement. That is
God dang it, Brendan! You're the bug man. I'm like supposed to believe you because
if,
you like all this stuff. So
if you say it with enough confidence, people will believe you.
And
yeah,
anyone will believe anything you say,
that
as
is
proven.
a scary thought. But yeah,
Oh,
the characters. Oh, what's up?
just speaking of the giant mantises, did anyone else find them gross? Specifically, the close up on their mouths. Like, anyone else be like, "Nah, I don't like that," or was that just me?
I mean, I thought Kamunga was nastier than Kamacuras.
I didn't think that they were gross, but I did think that specific shot or the series of shots where it was like close-ups of their pincers was odd. I did not enjoy that. I was like, this is a choice. But overall, I didn't think they were gross looking.
I've been bitten by mantis. I think normal mantis are a little more scary, and they're a lot smaller.
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, I was gonna say I would think a mantis would try to pinch you instead of bite you, but
Oh, they try. They try to do both.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so the characters from Son of Godzilla are really the only one I really remember is the reporter because I like the scene where he first arrives and he's just like, "Hey, you guys want to grab my stuff or whatever?" He's like just, arrives completely uninvited and just thinks that all these guys are just going to take care of him right away. And then I also like the part where he says like, "I'm not going to leave until I get a story." Then he like sits down, crosses his arms and just pouts. Like I thought that was funny. But
Definitely got a story.
yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, and then the plot to Son of Godzilla is just completely like nonsensical. You got these guys on an island trying to control the weather and whatnot. It's like what? I
Like
don't know.
they would have died. The first experiment they did got reached up to 158 degrees Fahrenheit. Like
Yeah,
literally everything would have died. And yet somehow
seriously.
the girl or woman I don't remember her name somehow survived by staying in a cave like
That's
and
a.
then the line they have is like, "Oh yeah, good thing we had the AC unit otherwise we'd die." So bad.
I must have been one cool cave, I guess. I don't know.
Like I'm all for cheese and dumb sci-fi, but this one was rough.
Yeah, like I said, even I acknowledge that Son of Godzilla is it's just not good. But I still it is for me the definition of a guilty pleasure because I enjoy it for all the wrong reasons. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on both films. So do you have any fun facts, Miranda? I know you mentioned a few when we were going through some of the parts of the movie.
I do have some fun facts. Hold on one second.
Sure.
I mean, usually we talk about fun facts a little later into the recording, so I'm not 100% prepared. So if we have something else to talk about.
Well, I mean like there's just really not much to say about these two movies cuz you know,
Godzilla's a bad dad.
yeah, just Godzilla's a bad dad. The Condor
Abusive father.
fight, yeah, the Condor fight is literally the worst fight in the entire franchise. Super shaky cam, can't see a thing that's going on. Uh,
In the movie before he threatens to beat his child, like Brennan said, he was getting over the worst bender he had had in 30 years.
And
yeah,
then this child comes along. He's like, "Oh, I don't want this thing."
Yeah. And he like tries to teach him something, threatens to beat him, and he's like, "All right, I'm going to bed." And then he just like goes to bed and ignores his child.
Godzilla is a terrible father.
I
Although I
don't
do
think
think,
it's his child, though. It's just a random egg.
but
That,
he's
like,
called Son of Godzilla.
okay, the humans call him that, not Godzilla himself. Like,
But
Godzilla
then
just
why
has
does
to adopt him.
yeah? I was gonna say if it's not Godzilla's son, then why does Godzilla go out of his way to adopt him or to take care of him?
because he doesn't want to see this little dying donkey sounding little creature thingy die. But
I don't know. Did you see the way Manila looked when he first hatched?
oh, here's speaking of that, yeah, so that's like a puppet, I think, and they had
Oh,
to
is it?
like move it around with strings. So that's why he like constantly is falling down and stuff.
Makes sense.
And the person we mentioned his name, I don't remember it offhand, who is in the manila suit, it didn't fit him very well, so he like kept falling a lot. But they like kept it in because like he's a baby toddler Godzilla, so yeah.
That's kind of hilarious. Okay, so did they get a little person to play Manila?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought they did.
Uh or yeah. We mentioned his name at the beginning.
Yeah, we meant it was little man Machin. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I was gonna say, anyone else find it kind of weird that Kumunga shot webs out of its mouth instead of its butt?
I mean, it could be weirder. You could be like Spider-Man from the Sam Raimi and just shoot it out of your wrists.
That would be kind of funny though. I'd be down for that.
Tarantulas don't do webs, right?
They do,
Oh wait.
actually.
Oh, they.
Oh,
Uh,
do they?
Hmm.
yeah, they actually do have silk, and they have spinnerets. They're modified because they're ground dwelling. Like they can't support themselves on a web, but their burrows are covered in sticky webs.
Interesting.
Interesting.
It's a question.
Hmm.
I never really thought of Kamunga as being a tarantula. I always thought it was just a giant spider. But like, I guess it would make sense for it to be a tarantula because it like comes out from underground.
Yeah, I thought tarantula because my brother has a tarantula. So like, one time it did attack me. Okay, it didn't attack me. It got out and got into my book bag, and I freaked out. But
Oh.
um, yeah, it like they have the same coloring, I think. So that's why that popped into my head.
Also really random, but I like the noise Kamunga makes, the little or whatever. I don't know why, but I like it. Oh, and I'm pretty sure Kamakurus and Ebra share the same roar. Or whatever sound effect that they
Well,
use.
they're related. They're cousins.
So a giant praying mantis is related to a giant lobster slash shrimp.
Why
Makes
not?
makes sense.
I don't know. I saw this online, so take this with a grain of salt. Uh,
Okay.
Ebera's name, I think, literally translates to jumbo shrimp.
Yeah, that's what Myranda was saying
Yeah.
earlier.
So he's an oxymoron.
Yeah, I
But
guess so.
why do they call him a lobster in the movie?
Because like we were redubbing this.
Well, it's not just in the dub though; it's also in the sub because I
Oh,
watched the sub on HBO because like I watched the dub and when it got to that part, I was like, "All right, hold on, let me find the sub." Because I don't know if that's just like something they edited for the American version or not. And I went to the same exact scene on the sub, and sure enough, they still call it a lobster. So
so do you want them to call him a lobster, or do you want them to be like, "Oh, he's a prawn. He's a prawn." Like,
giant prawn.
he's a giant enemy prawn. Or it doesn't sound the same as like, "Oh, look at that shrimp." You think something small, I guess.
I guess,
I,
yeah.
f- I feel like if they were calling it prawn, I would just think of District 9.
I was thinking of the Muppets.
A Muppet.
The Muppets?
Yeah, like there's a prawn little guy. I always forget his name, but he's like little tiny prawn dude with like the orange hair.
Is he the guy that talks like beep 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 beep?
No, that's Beaker.
Oh, okay.
Pepe the King Prawn. There it is.
Pepe the
Pepe the
King
King
Prawn.
prawn.
Yeah,
Awesome. Okay.
if they were to say prawn, I would just think of him.
Who would win, Pepe the King Prawn or Ebra?
Well, Pepe probably because he has more
Pepe.
people controlling him because he has 4 arms.
Also, do they ever explain why whatever yellow liquid the red bamboo used, do they ever explain why that keeps Ebra from attacking them?
Nope. I think they just say it just keeps them safe. It doesn't. They don't explain
Ebra doesn't like
anything.
yellow.
He hates interior decorating.
Since we're on the topic of Ebra, Mothra's back. They could afford her this time. Barely. But she's there.
Yeah, but her suit looks like crap.
Yeah. I'm glad to see her. I just feel bad because there's like one scene where there's like cigarettes stuck to her face, and I'm like, you couldn't clean her off before you filmed this movie?
Not only that, but like I said, Godzilla is just a dick to her in this movie because he sees her and the first thing he does is like try to atomic breath her. I guess he still remembers what she did to him in Mothra versus Godzilla. I mean, to be fair, I guess I would hold a bit of a grudge if I was like silked up and thrown into the ocean.
Who knew that Mothra had mob ties?
But no, it is cool to see Mothra again. And like Miranda said, they could afford her because they didn't have the King Ghidorah suit or Rodan to take up the budget this time. So
They also didn't have to build a bunch of detailed sets. So I think this is going to shift to the island movies, where a bunch of these movies are just going to take place on islands or use stock footage from other monster movies
yeah,
that came beforehand. And the budget is just going to get like lower and lower. They're just starting to lose money on them. And also, like, popularity of TV was on a rise. Like, more people were getting a TV, so more people and more of the, like, industry was focusing more on television type things, and that's why, like, in these two, you get more of a made for television type vibe. Like, I believe Jun Fukuda came from television too, so that like translates into these movies. They also started rethinking of how to market these movies, so they were starting the thought of gearing them more towards kids was coming into like people's minds. So there's a lot of reasons where we get this really weird quality dip in these movies. They were also kind of running out of ideas, and I think the Japanese government at the time were offering loans to any studio that would make a giant monster movie, specifically to like send out overseas, I think. So that's another reason they like have a lot of them. And I think at the time they were working on another movie. Um, so that's where like Honda and crew that was doing Godzilla movies like were pulled away from Godzilla, and then that's why like this new crew came in to start making them for a while.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's super telling of what like the latter half of the Showa era is going to be for Godzilla because you mentioned like they're going to start aiming it a lot towards kids. That's definitely like the next step that the franchise takes here in the Showa era. But I wanted to circle back because you mentioned like how the sets are going to be kind of kept to the island. There's a line in this movie that I want you to pay attention to because it's going to have significance in the next film. One of the characters in Son of Godzilla says, "All right, you got Kamacuras, you got Kamunga, you got Godzilla and his son. You might as well call this place Monster Island. Keep that in mind. That's all I'm going to
Oh,
say."
I see.
Yep. So.
The one, the only island that anyone ever talks about anymore. That's just where they all live, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I'd live there too.
Yeah, sure. It'd be great. Have a party. You could play beach volleyball with Ebra.
Godzilla would already be passed out, just too drunk to play.
Yeah, you'd have to wake him up with some lightning. Yeah, and because like you guys had said before, this was originally supposed to be a King Kong film, so that's why at least Ebra Horror of the Deep was supposed to be a King Kong film. So that's why they had to wake Godzilla up with lightning, because if you remember from King Kong versus Godzilla, like Kong had some type of connection with lightning for whatever reason. So
He
they
was
were
supposed
gonna,
to be Frankenstein in that movie.
yeah, but they kept it in for whatever reason. So that's where that comes from, is because they were going to continue on Kong's connection with lightning. And then there's also a part where Godzilla becomes somewhat infatuated with like the female lead. So like they were key that's also left in from like the King Kong script or whatever that this was originally supposed to be.
I don't know how I forgot about that part of the
Yeah,
movie.
it's like the only time Godzilla has like ever like taken or has like ever had any type of infatuation with like a human.
We know that's also not true. What is it? What movie is it where the guy's like, Godzilla's my friend, and he goes up on the rooftop for him?
Yeah, but that are you talking about Godzilla 2000?
Is
Wait,
that
no.
Godzilla 2000?
But he's not his friend though in that
No, I
movie.
know, but like they just look at each other and Godzilla cocks his head and just blows him up. It's great.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say he blows that guy up though, so I don't think I don't think he took a liking to him. He like Godzilla took a liking to this female character because he just like stared at her and then just like chilled by her the entire time. So,
Yeah, it's true.
all right, well, anything else that comes to mind when thinking of these two movies?
I was gonna interject a few times, but then I didn't want to interrupt, and you guys mainly covered a lot of the other things I was gonna mention. Um, 'Cause I mean, I don't think they were bad. They just there wasn't a lot to them. The human plots are usually pretty convoluted and whatever, and then yeah, I don't know. I mean, there was a lot of funny moments in Son of Godzilla. I will say that Like even though he still looks awful, I did like the slightly older version of Manila more than the freshly born one. He at least looked a little bit more Godzilla-y, but
Yeah, they added the spine, the dorsal fins on
yeah,
the design, which was a nice touch.
yeah. I feel like that's how people feel like when they complain about Doomsday and Batman vs Superman. They're like, "What did they do to my boy?" And that's it's like the original, the first freshly born Doomsday is freshly born Manila, and then when he finally starts getting spikes, that's the slightly older Manila, but it's slightly older Doomsday for all you Batman vs Superman listeners.
I still think Doomsday looks like crap in that movie, but that's besides the point.
He does look like a Lord of the Rings troll. He does. I'm not saying he doesn't, but I do think that by the end of the movie, he does look better with his like. He's not perfect, but he looks better. He looks better, spiky. But anyway, I liked the idea of a sea monster, and then I liked the underwater fight scene from Ebirah, and then I liked Godzilla and Manila fighting the mantises. I thought that was like an interesting. I was like, I don't had there ever been any like giant praying mantis before?
There was the giant mantis from like it was like a 50s B movie, but not in the Godzilla franchise.
So yeah, so I thought it was like a cool new addition to the roster of kaiju. Yeah, other than that, I mean, they were okay. It was fun to give Manila crap and to just be mean to him because he deserves it for existing. And then yeah, and then Ebra was fine. I
Udi,
oh
we
I
go ahead.
oh it's because I did also I was also a fan of Mothra coming back. I was like, yeah, she's back. And she's not excluded because of budgetary constraints, like Myranda said.
Yeah, I mean, Mothra is cool, and I didn't actually think she would actually show up, so she did, so that's cool.
I remember thinking when they first talked about like an island, I was like, "Oh, are they gonna go to Infant Island? Ha ha ha!" And then they did. I was like, "Oh, they did. Oh, cool. Okay."
Oh,
I was
the
expecting
fact
that.
Nice.
that the one guy gets like tied up into like a weather like balloon, hot air balloon thing, and floats all the way to Infant Island. Like, how did he survive that? That makes no sense.
I also like how he just drops like right directly onto the island in like a center of like in like the center of like praying natives or whatever. Like that was funny. I
Town
like that.
Square.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's because the plot demanded it.
Well, yeah, the plot did demand it. Oh, what I noticed that like there was a lot of primary colors in Ebro too. There's a lot of reds, yellows, and blues. Like I know those aren't all primary, or the well depends on the system you're using, but um they're like everywhere. So I think that adds to like that beach theme I was picking up too throughout the movie. Like I want to know why. Like is that just the color paint they had? Like and the costumes, I actually liked the costumes in both these movies, um, because they kinda just get to be, like, normal everyday people, they're not, like, news reporters or, like, in suits or businessmen, they're just, like, average citizens, so they get to wear, like, average clothes, and I do like that in, Son of Godzilla, the, woman I wish I remembered her character's name, but I don't, um I liked the fact that, like, she didn't have to, like, wear a dress the whole time, she got to wear pants and, like, a Hawaiian shirt, and, I was like, "Oh, that's cool," because most of the time, like, I guess this is the '60s, so fashion is starting to change a bit, and you're starting to, like, see it a bit more, um in this movie, like, that's one thing I've noticed too from, like, the beginning of the franchise to now. It's like, you can see the evolution of clothing, you can see the evolution of, like, cameras. I think in I don't know, one of them, they show, like, a new camera, and I was like, "Hey, I haven't seen that camera." One person has, like, a spy camera, like, a little tiny, like, spy camera, which I was like, "Hey, that's pretty cool." Also, there's a
Hey, that's pretty good. Just an old iDubbbz reference.
oh,
Sorry,
okay.
continue.
I understood that reference.
Yeah, we got one.
Yay.
Sorry, continue, Miranda.
Okay. Um, at one point in Ebra, they're, like, eating food on the yacht and all the old labels, and, someone's reading a magazine and there was an old Coca-Cola ad, and I was like, "Hey, that's really cool to see." Also, for knowledge for the listeners, I'm a graphic designer, so, like, every time I bring up some kind of graphic designed thing, like ads or logos or posters or signs, it's because like, this is something I like to do. Um, but it's just cool to see because, like, I've mentioned this before, by watching these in the chronological release order, it's like a little time capsule. And, like, are these movies great? No, but we're still talking about them, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I wanted to mention before when you were saying like watching these movies, like it's interesting to see the changes from each decade because watching Godzilla's entire filmography honestly kind of does take you through each decade. It starts in the 50s, you go through the 60s, the 70s, you catch the tail end of the 80s with the first film in the Heisei era, you go through the 90s, the early 2000s, you go through the 2010s. So it's kind of cool to like you had said, just see the evolution of not only film but like, fashion and and whatnot.
I guess to kind of go back to like the James Bond comparison from like an episode or two ago from like the Godzilla movies. I feel like these movies also kind of follow in the same way where like James Bond movies very I don't know necessarily about today like the more modern ones, but at least back in the day I feel like they were very much an encapsulation of that time period or like whenever they were being made. So I feel like in the same way the Godzilla movies are also kind of like that, which is cool.
Yeah, I agree.
They kinda line up too. Um, weirdly. Like there's some crossover, which I may have mentioned before, of women in the Godzilla movies becoming Bond girls. So it's weird how everything it's it's weird how everything is kind of interconnected. Like you wouldn't think it would be, but like it is.
Yeah, one may influence another, so
Yep.
especially if it's released at around the same time.
Got any fun facts from the movies?
Uh sure. As everyone probably knows, I like fun facts, so, you gotta share fun facts because 'cause they're fun. Oh, here's not really a Godzilla fun fact, but it's relative to Godzilla. In Son of Godzilla, I think the reporter is, like, making dinner because they make him be the cook, and he's, like, using, like, clothes washing water to wash the vegetables, and, do you guys know how pink lemonade became a thing? I promise this is
Uh,
semi-relevant.
no. Yeah, and how did pink lemonade become a thing?
Okay, so back in the day, there's this guy with a lemonade stand, and he's, like, making lemonade, and he runs out of water, and it happens to be, by a circus, and he sees this person washing their red tights in these water. And the water's kinda pink, but he's like, "Hey, can I have your water?" So he makes lemonade out of the pink water, and that's how you get pink lemonade.
Is that seriously the story behind pink lemonade?
It's one of them. There's another one that says, like, a guy, like, making, like, strawberry lemonade or something, but that's one of them. I don't know how true that is, but that thought popped into my head. Obviously, not very Godzilla related, but I, wanted to share, I guess. Um, Yeah, so I guess some fun facts about Godzilla movies, these two movies.
I was gonna say, did you go through some of them earlier when we were talking about the film earlier, or?
Yeah, I mentioned the Ebra shrimp fact. I mentioned the Rodan fact, or not the Rodan, the bird fact. Although that suit is a reused Rodan suit, they just
Oh, is it
modified it.
really?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah, they're just reusing suits everywhere.
Left and right. Hey, man, they got to save money somehow.
Yeah, that's true. They have to do something. Um,
Honestly, like, I feel like we pretty much have said all we need to say about these two movies. These Son of Godzilla and like Ebirah Horror of the Deep really just aren't anything special. So, like, if we want to move on to the lizard fact of the day and get our ratings in, like, I'm cool with moving on to that step already.
I feel like we should get Brendan back for an episode of better movies.
Oh, well, trust me, when we get to I mean it wouldn't be for a while for now, but I definitely plan on bringing Brendan back for GMK because that is both of our like favorite movies, so that'll be a good one. But yeah, we should definitely bring you back, Brendan, for like better Godzilla movies than
No,
these
don't
two.
get me wrong. I'll come on for Godzilla's Revenge. I won't. I'll let you guys suffer.
Yeah.
Uh,
is Godzilla's Revenge the like American title to like
Yes, the
what's the
Japanese
Japanese
title's
title?
All Monsters Attack.
Oh,
which is
okay.
weird.
Yeah.
They do show
Weird.
footage of the bird, though. They show footage of the bird
Yeah,
fight in that
because they
one.
use stock footage from Ebra and Son of Godzilla. So.
Yeah, there's like no original footage.
There is when Godzilla fights Bagheera.
Ugh.
It's just
Forgot about.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know if I'm looking forward to that one.
Hey, the on the
But
bright side, there's one silver lining with that movie. It is like only an hour long, so it's really
Yeah,
short.
yeah, yeah. And the other one is the guy who voices Goofy voices Manila.
Yeah, I forgot Manila talks. Manila talks in that movie.
And he,
You'll find out.
and he's like, "Gorsh, Godzilla's really a bad dad." Yeah.
Yeah, he sounds exactly like that.
Yeah, it's great.
so I guess I could go into the lizard fact now if
Hit
we
us
have
with that
nothing
lizard
else to say.
fact. Do it.
I'm ready to Zard.
Okay, so the lizard fact of the day is about the thorny devil. It's also known as the mountain devil. It's a lizard that is local to Australia. It can grow up to 8.3 inches in total length. And the females are generally larger than the males, and they can live up to 20 years. Um, they have camouflaging shades of desert brown and tans, and these colors change from pale colors during the warmer months to darker colors in the colder months. They have a false head that's made of soft tissue on the back of their neck. The lizard presents this to potential predators by dipping their real head, and they're entirely covered in spines, which helps them like not get eaten by predators. So not too relevant to the Godzilla movies like the last few have been with the flying gecko and the moth skink and stuff, but still an interesting lizard. And yeah, so that's our lizard fact.
Very interesting. You heard it here, folks. Check out our Instagram at Atomic Lizards Pod if you would like to see what this lizard looks like for yourself.
Yeah. But so I guess if we have nothing else to say, as they're pretty meh movies, let's go into our ratings. So I give Ebra Horror of the Deep a 3 out of 5. Um, because I enjoyed it and it was fun. And I'm giving Son of Godzilla like a we'll go with a 1.5. So I know that's low, and you said there's worse ones coming, but I just did not enjoy this one. So those are my scores.
All right, Duty, you're up.
I think I'll give Ebra a 2.5, I guess. And I'll give Son of Godzilla. You know what? I'll just match. Myranda. I'll give it a 1.5. Why not?
All right, Brendan, how would you rate these movies out of 5?
All right, well, I'm the defector here. So Ebera's going to get a solid 1.5 out of 5. The only thing saving it and giving it that other 0.5 is the bird fight because it's great. And the beach volleyball. Son of Godzilla, since my nostalgia for that movie and or because I like Kamunga just not walking properly, uh, I am going to give that one probably a 2 out of 5. It's not as good as I remembered. Really wasn't.
Yeah, that's like the painful thing sometimes of like enjoying something as a kid and then going back and watching it as an adult. It's like, wow, this really was not what I remember it being when I was a child. But yeah, this one's kind of tough for me because like Ebra Horror of the Deep, I want to give like a 1.5, but I also don't know if it's that bad. I don't think it's that bad, so I'm gonna go with 2. And then Son of Godzilla, I want to give 2.5 for being my guilty pleasure of mine, but I don't think it deserves to be a half point away from being a 3. So I'm also going to give it a 2. Both are 2 out of 5s for me.
I'm gonna do the math. So
Gotta average out for the official Atomic Lizards rating.
yep.
Don't you mean the monster math?
Yes, the monster myth. So Condor fight, best fight ever, huh, Brendan?
It's the best. It's those 30 seconds alone are better than Godzilla's Revenge.
30s. You know what? Yeah, I'll agree with you. Sure, awful shaky cam footage that I can't even see. I would watch that over Godzilla's
I
Revenge.
can't comprehend it. My brain doesn't work that way, but that's still better.
Yeah, which says a lot more about Godzilla's Revenge than you think.
I have the math. So Ebra gets a 2.25 out of 5. And then Son of Godzilla gets a 1.75 out of 5. So that's definitely our lowest ranking movies here. So
Yeah,
yeah, so these are definitely our lowest ranking movies. Hopefully you guys learned something
well, we learned about a
from
cool
this.
lizard, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's that.
Um
Learned about the best bird fight in
Learned
kaiju
about
history.
the best fight ever, and all of its shaky cam awesomeness.
I could beat that bird.
Yeah.
In the Battle of Fisticuffs, Brendan
Yeah.
wins.
Nah, I would fight dirty. I'd grab a chair, like a folding chair, just smack it.
Well, it's funny though, because when we were talking earlier about how like in Son of Godzilla, it's like Godzilla was using wrestling moves. I always like to think of it like, oh, Godzilla's going for the chair.
yeah. Well, wrestling was pretty popular at the time, so they did take a lot of influence from that into these fights,
Mhm.
Yeah.
which I think I've mentioned before on a different episode, but still relevant.
Yeah. It's actually not really well known, but when Godzilla was created by nuclear waste, there was actually a WWE magazine next to him on the ocean floor.
I thought you said there was a WWE wrestler next to him, so he's just got like they like morphed into one being.
Yeah, it's Macho Man Randy Savage. He didn't actually die. He just got like morphed into Godzilla.
Morphed into Godzilla. Oh my god. The rumors were true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you round up and down, our official Atomic Lizards rating for Ebirah is 2 out of 5. And if you round up for Son of Godzilla, our official Atomic Lizards rating is also 2 out of 5. So there you go. But it'll be. These are our lowest rated right now, but I'm really curious to see what Godzilla's Revenge is going to look like.
Well, we got a few different movies to cover before we get to that one. So
Yeah, it'll be a
I
while before we get to that one.
hopefully can promise some more entertaining movies in the future. But the next movie we're covering is Destroy All Monsters from 1968. Dan, I believe you said that was the original end. It was supposed to be
Yes.
the original end.
Yes, Destroy All Monsters was originally going to be the last film in the Godzilla franchise for Toho.
Hopefully, it's good then. I'm really
Well, we'll
hoping it
see.
is.
They do kind of pull out all the stops, and we kind of get like an Avengers like Endgame moment with it, but yeah.
Ooh, cool.
I wouldn't go that far, but
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously, but like in a similar sense, where they like just pull in everyone. So
Okay. Thank you for being here and talking about these movies. Hopefully, we can have you back on for more entertaining movies, with a little more depth to them. But thank
yeah.
you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us and listening to our conversation about Ebirah, Horror of the Deep, and Son of Godzilla. If you're interested in hearing more, check out our previous episodes. We have all kinds of stuff coming out in the future and previous episodes, so definitely check that out. And as always, you can find us on Instagram at Atomic Lizards Pod and on Letterboxd at Atomic_Lizards.